Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank, coming to you live from Walker Grant Middle School. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be finishing up those comparing and ordering notes that we had from yesterday, and mainly on the back is where we're going to be working. So, just a couple quick definitions for you, just as a recap. Again, ascending, that is talking about we're going to say that's going to be our lowest value or our least, or the value that's the least, to the greatest. So, usually what I do is when I see ascending, I go least to greatest, like that. And then separately for descending, you can say, all right, similar idea, you can say greatest to least. And you want to have that because you want to make sure each and every time you can say, okay, I can draw a little letter for ourselves, that way we know which way we're going. What you can do though is if you want to, I'm going to draw a little bit bigger for us, but in this space over here, what you can do is you can draw a staircase. I personally like to draw this just to have that visual or picture idea for ourselves. And what we're going to have is we're going to have at the bottom, we're going to have our lowest value, or the one that is the least. And at the top of the staircase, like always, we're going to have the greatest. And what you want to be able to see in there as well is you think, okay, I have at the bottom, we start at the bottom and now we're here. And so we have, as we're going up, let's try that one more time. As we're going up the staircase, we're going to be ascending. So we're going up the staircase, we ascend. So we'll say up for that. And if we are going down the staircase, we do like so. We get green. We'll go from greatest to least now. We descend. So we descend down the staircase. Again, notice how those two letters are the same. So we go down the staircase, you descend. So this is helpful to be able to have those two definitions in there for yourselves. So now, underneath that, you have this. You have on your paper, it should be a little bit blank, but that's fine, as we want to be able to convert some of these values for yourself. So if you need to pause the video at any point in time, please do. So that way you can copy down and make sure you have these values in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch these over to decimal form. So I'd say copy them down, try to get those to decimal form first, and then we're going to see if our answers are the same. So for a mixed number, again, you want to split it apart where we're saying, okay, this is going to be our whole. And so we're going to say, all right, let's have our decimals down first. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you always want to put those down first. That way you can build off of that. All right. So we have, in orange, we have our whole number. And so I can write that first. And in green, we have the part. And so when you type in to the calculator, 2/3 is going to be 0.6 repeating. So I can just kind of write it like this. I can say 6, 6, 6, 6, like that. And you can kind of fill it out that way it goes along. Again, for mixed numbers, you just write the whole and then the decimal part. For the fractions, again, you just divide, and so when you type in 15 divided by 4, you should end up with that 3.75. Again, we don't write 5s after this, we just have zeros. So 0, 0, all right. For the square root of 7, again, that's going to fall between the numbers 2 and 3, and so it's going to be the decimal 2 point. We can say 6, 4. Make sure you at least do the first two. That way it's a little bit easier to see. But we might as well keep it going the whole way out. Again, for percents, again, you want to make sure that you're typing in that value that they give. So these three numbers, exactly how they look. So it'd be 2.21. And we're going to go ahead and divide that by 100. And so what we end up getting, what you should end up getting, excuse me, is something like this. 0.0 and then 221. Again, notice how, again, that's a very small percent, and so that makes sense as that is about the appropriate size. And for our last one we have on here, for the scientific notation, again, you want to circle the exponent first, and you're saying, okay, that 2 up there, that's a positive, so I'm going to say I'm going to the right. And so I'm going to move my decimal. How many steps? Well, I move it 2 steps. In which direction? To the right. So I go 1, 2, and that's where I place my decimal. So from that point, so from this new decimal place, I have 5, 3, and then 7. Again, it's very simple as long as you are not thinking too hard. Keep it simple for yourself. All right, so now that we have those decimal values, you can try to order it. And let's actually do, let's say, let me write it up here. Let's say descending. We want to go descending order first. And to make a little note for yourself, again, descending, that is going to be greatest to least. And so let's try to order these first. All right. So again, I take the back of my calculator or a pencil or my hand or whatever, and I cover up and I say, okay, I'm looking for the largest value. And so I go to the furthest left and I cover up everything that's furthest left, and I see, okay, hey, this value right here, this is the only number that is standing out like that. So I'm going to say that this value 7 is the largest, and in original form is that scientific notation. So let me write that down. So I'm going to have, let's do it in green. I have that scientific notation, so it's going to be 7.35 times 10 to the second power. And again, since I used it, I can just kind of cross it out very easily. Just put one line through to show that you used it once. All right. So moving on, again, we're still looking for the now largest value that is remaining. And so, okay, I'm comparing these 4 numbers. I'm comparing 2, 3, 2, and 0. So out of these 4 numbers, which one's the largest? Well, we see that the 3 is the largest out of those, and so that value in original form is going to be that 15.4. So let's or not 15.4, excuse me. That's going to be that 15 over 4. So let's write that down here. 15 over 4. All right. Again, I can cross it out to show that I used it once, and I am good. All right, so let's, again, cover it up. Let's see. All right, I have, what's my largest value? Well, this is kind of what I started saying before. I see that these 2 number 2s are tied, and so I have to go over one place value column. Same idea, it's still tied. So what I do, I rinse and repeat, and I go over one more. So I'm comparing these 2 values. I'm comparing 2.66 and 2.64. And so that we see that this first value is actually going to be our next in line. So that 2 2/3, that's going to be our next value. So let me write that down. We got 2 2/3. Again, make sure you can pause for yourself at any time. You can rewind, use those closed captions for yourself, excuse me. That way you can best expedite or best learn in your capabilities. So anyways, last 2 values, again, we can kind of cover up like we've been doing. Again, it's pretty straightforward. What's bigger, 2 or 0? Well, our 2 is going to be bigger, and so we have this value, square root of 7. We used that one, and our lowest value, or our smallest value, is going to be that 2.21%. Okay. Again, please do ask questions, as I am more than willing to help you out. Again, make sure you're trying this out for yourself first and then moving forward. So now, after that, underneath of that, what I want you to do is I want you to draw the number line first. Just label it -5 through +5. And then you can change these values to decimal form. So if you need to pause to write these down, please do. Maybe try to convert them to decimal and check these over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my decimals first. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me change these over. So I have 3.145. No, let's back up. Pi is 1415. And there's other numbers after it, but we only have those many spaces. And we have 3.15 repeating. And so what's that next number going to be? Well, it shouldn't be a 5 because it is both of these values repeating. So it's going to be 1, 5 again. For my scientific notation, again, I circle my exponent. I see, hey, that exponent, it's just a 0. And so what do? Well, 0 is essentially nothing, and so we don't have to do anything at all. And so we just write this value as is. So we would say 3 negative and then 0, 1. Again, make sure you're writing that negative on the very far left. And then for that square root, again, I'm going to square root of 15 and negative. And so we're going to have, that's going to be negative 3 and 0.8. Let's draw that again. I want to make sure our digits are perfectly drawn every time, so that way we never make mistakes. All right. Just like before, take that value that is displayed like that. Again, to change from a percent to a decimal, you want to divide that number by 100. And so we should end up getting that negative, should end up getting a negative, and then 3.33. Okay. Be very careful as well. If you wanted to fill these values in for these boxes, make sure you're not just writing whatever you want. You want to make sure, hey, is it repeating or is there more values? Well, for these two cases, it is just zeros. And so we are good. Again, to line them up, I want to do, let's actually do for this one, let's do green, we'll say ascending. So let's actually do ascending, which is going to be least to greatest. All right, so just like we've been doing, let's cover these up and say, okay, I'm talking about the lowest. And so when I'm thinking of a thermometer, just like we did in homework, I'm thinking which of these is going to be my lowest? Well, I'm going to be in the negatives then for my low numbers. And so I have to now move over one column. And I say, okay, which of these values, which one of these numbers is going to be the coldest? Well, I know that this negative 3.8, that's going to be the coldest out of these amounts. Okay, that's going to be my lowest on my thermometer. So let's actually write that then. Let's say it's going to be in original form is going to be that negative square root of 15 and you can cross that out. Again, let's cover up and see what we have. Again, I'm going to have which one's lower. Well, it's going to be that negative 3.3, which is that negative 333%. Negative 333%. Cross it out. Still, again, I can look at those numbers very easily and see, hey, that negative is still there. And so that's going to be my lowest. But we are climbing up that ladder. We're getting to our larger numbers now. So now I see, okay, I am working with my positives, and so I say, okay, I have that 3.1, those are both tied. I move over one more column, and I see, okay, 3.14 is going to be my next value. Alright, so I say 3 point, nope, I don't say 3.14, I say in original form. Again, an original form is what we want. So we want pi, we want that pizza pie, and we're left with that repeating decimal. Alright. Try putting them on the number line and check with me. Super slam that subscribe button too.